Hey you, I'm so glad you're here. Let's take a deep breath together, because what we're about to talk about is something every woman has experienced at some point, but hardly anyone teaches how to actually navigate it well. You meet a guy, there's a spark, maybe you exchange numbers at a party, or maybe you matched on an app, and now it's happening, you're texting, but instead of feeling confident and playful, you're staring at your phone, overthinking every single word. Should I reply right away? What if I come off too strong? Why did he stop replying halfway through a great convo? It's exhausting, right? You want to feel that thrill of connection. You want to flirt, to feel desired, to know you're on his mind. But texting can quickly become this confusing space where signals get lost, intentions get blurred, and that amazing guy you felt something with suddenly cools off, and you're left wondering what went wrong. That's why this conversation is so important, because it's not about games. It's not about pretending to be someone you're not. It's about understanding how attraction is built digitally in the same way it's built in person, with confidence, emotion, and a deep sense of self-respect. In today's world, texting is often the front door to romance. And when you know how to use it with intention, you don't just get a guy to like you. You create emotional impact. You leave a fingerprint on his mind. You become the kind of woman he doesn't just want to chat with. He starts thinking about you in between the texts. So in this video, I'm going to share 5 powerful ways to spark real interest, build chemistry, and create connection, all through your words on a screen. Ready? Let's dive in. One of the most powerful ways to spark attraction over text is to become a little playfully mysterious. Now, when people hear mysterious, they often confuse it with being cold, vague, or emotionally distant. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about the kind of mystery that's magnetic, the kind that makes someone lean in closer, wonder about you, and crave more of the experience that is you. You see, in the early stages of texting, especially when attraction is still building, the temptation is to overshare. You want to be open, honest, transparent, and there's nothing wrong with that. But attraction isn't just built on information, it's built on intrigue. And if you give everything away up front, if you reveal every detail of your thoughts, plans, and emotions before he's even earned that access, you remove the need for discovery. And discovery is everything when it comes to lasting desire. So how do you actually create this playful mystery? It's about knowing that not everything needs a full explanation. If he asks, "What are you up to tonight?" instead of responding with, "Just on the couch watching Netflix for the 3rd night in a row," try something a little more teasing. Say, "Something far too interesting to confess via text," or "I could tell you, but then I'd lose all my charm." It's fun, it's cheeky, it shows you're not scrambling to impress him by being available or overly detailed. You're letting him wonder, and that wonder becomes attraction. This also means you don't have to reply to every message instantly. Synopsis versus someone who gives you a glimpse of the first page and says you're going to love what comes next. When you embrace playful mystery, you're sending a subtle but powerful message. There's a lot to know about me, and you're going to have fun discovering it. That's what draws people in. Not the chase, but the thrill of discovery. That's what makes your texts addictive. Not because you're withholding, but because your energy has depth, intention, and confidence behind it. And that's what he remembers. One of the most confusing parts of texting is figuring out the right tone. You might be asking yourself, am I texting too much? Too little? Am I coming on strong? Does he even care? It's so easy to fall into a spiral of overanalyzing every emoji, every pause, every lull. But here's the truth, or fill the silence with meaningless chatter just to keep the conversation going. Real confidence comes from knowing you can let a moment breathe, and that you're still going to be on his mind. When you hold back just a little, when you keep some details for later, you leave space for curiosity to grow. You become the woman who texts in a way that feels light, flirty, and fresh, rather than heavy or overly eager. But here's the key. The mystery has to be playful, not manipulative. You're not creating confusion, you're creating fun. You're being warm, inviting, and open, but you're not handing over the full backstage pass just because he asks what you're doing at 10 p.m. on a Wednesday. You're choosing what to reveal in a way that keeps things engaging. It's like the difference between someone who reads you a full book. Attraction flows best when energy feels balanced, when both people are giving and receiving, when the rhythm of the conversation feels natural, not forced or one-sided. That's why learning how to match his energy but still lead with yours is so important. Let's break that down. Matching his energy simply means you're tuned in to how he shows up. If he's responding with short, lower thought messages like yeah or lol, and you're sending full paragraphs and emotionally invested replies, that imbalance starts to feel off. Not just to him, but to you. You start to feel like you're doing the emotional labor of the conversation, and that can lead to resentment or worse, losing self-respect in the process. But here's the twist. While matching his energy shows emotional intelligence, you don't want to become a passive mirror. You're not just reacting to his tone, waiting for him to make it interesting. You have power too. You get to influence the vibe. That means once you've matched his rhythm, whether that's playful, chill, thoughtful, you lead with your energy. You take the text from neutral to memorable. You bring something playful, unexpected, or genuine to the table. A funny voice note, a meme that made you think of him, a bold but sweet question like, what would we be doing right now if we were in the same room? That's how you shift the conversation from casual to connected. When you do this right, you're not chasing. You're steering the tone of the interaction from passive to exciting. And that doesn't mean overwhelming him or demanding attention. It means you're sprinkling your charm, your humor, your curiosity, your vibe into the mix in a way that makes the conversation feel easy and enjoyable for both of you. And here's where it gets powerful. When you lead with your energy, you become memorable. Because let's be honest, so many people are stuck in auto text mode, dry responses, predictable questions, no spark. But you're choosing to bring a little life, a little levity, a little edge to the conversation. And when you do, he starts to associate texting you with feeling something, whether it's excitement, laughter, or emotional connection. So yes, read the room. If he's dry, don't overshare. If he's enthusiastic, match that. But don't forget, you're not just reacting. You're influencing, you're leading. You're shaping the energy of the conversation in a way that reflects who you are. Fun, confident, and emotionally in tune to that balance. That's what builds real attraction over time. If there's one thing that separates a boring text from an unforgettable one, it's emotion. Not emojis, not punctuation, not clever wordplay, real emotionally charged language that makes someone feel something when they read it. When you know how to speak in a way that evokes a genuine emotion, curiosity, excitement, longing, connection, you're no longer just texting, you're creating an experience. And when a guy begins to associate your texts with how good it feels to talk to you, that's when you start taking up real estate in his mind. Most people text at surface level. How was your day? Oh, that's funny. Not much, just chilling. That's the kind of language that keeps a conversation alive, but it doesn't create chemistry. If you want to stand out, if you want to actually get a guy to like you, you need to use words that touch a deeper nerve. Instead of I'm tired, say, today completely drained me. I'm counting down the minutes until I can just collapse into my bed and not move. That tiny shift adds texture. It paints a picture. It makes him imagine you, feel your day, maybe even wish he could be there to comfort you. It's not about being dramatic. It's about being specific. Instead of that was fun, say, I'm still smiling from that. It actually made my whole night. You're adding warmth. You're making the conversation feel more personal, more alive. And guess what? People don't remember generic. They remember how someone made them feel. If you're the person whose messages feel like something, even something as simple as a little joy or flirtatious tension, you become the one he wants to keep texting. Emotionally charged language also opens the door to flirtation in a subtle way. For example, instead of saying, that looks good, you might say, if I were there, I'd absolutely steal a bite of that. It's not over the top, it's playful. It creates an image, a scenario, a little spark of intimacy. These are the kind of messages that slowly but powerfully build tension because they let him feel the energy between you, not just the words on the screen. And here's a secret. When you lead with this kind of emotional richness, you also give him permission to open up more. Most guys aren't used to having real conversations over text. But when you show that you're not afraid to share something meaningful, real, or just a little bit cheeky and vulnerable, it encourages him to meet you there. Suddenly, he's not just texting to pass time. He's texting because he wants to connect. And connection is the foundation of chemistry. So don't be afraid to color your words with a little depth, add texture, add feeling, and let your text carry your essence. Because when he reads them and actually feels you, that's when texting turns into attraction. One of the most underrated ways to build chemistry with a guy over text is by creating your own little world with him. And the best way to do that? Inside jokes and shared language. It might sound simple, but it's actually one of the most powerful ways to create intimacy and emotional stickiness, because once you two have your own language, your own rhythm, your own little quirks and callbacks, he's not just texting someone, he's texting you. Think about the people you feel closest to. Friends, siblings, past partners. What do all those relationships have in common? Shared stories, running jokes, weird references that only the two of you understand. That's what makes communication feel close. It's not the number of texts. It's not the perfect grammar. It's that sense of we get each other. And in dating, especially early on, that feeling is priceless. So when something funny or awkward happens, don't just let it pass. Name it. Make a joke about it and then bring it up again later. If he once told you he secretly sings in the shower and you randomly text, "You hitting those high notes again tonight, shower superstar," you've brought back a moment that felt personal. You've made him smile. And now suddenly you've created a moment only the two of you share. Inside jokes act like emotional glue. They create continuity. You're not just starting new conversations every day. You're building something. You're laying emotional bricks, one shared moment at a time. And this does something even more powerful than just making him laugh. It makes your presence familiar and warm. He starts to associate you with comfort and fun. He starts to feel like he knows you in a different, deeper way. The beauty of this tactic is that it makes texting feel effortless and engaging without being intense. You don't have to keep inventing new ways to flirt. You're just continuing your ongoing dialogue. Your shared language becomes a playground for connection. Maybe you start calling each other by silly nicknames, or you reference that one time he couldn't spell restaurant correctly, and it becomes an all-gooding joke. It's lighthearted, it's teasing, but most importantly, it's yours. When you develop inside jokes, you also show that you're paying attention, that you remember what he says, that you value those little moments. And for a guy who's used to surface-level conversations, that's refreshing. It signals, I'm not just here to flirt. I'm building something with you that has layers. This kind of shared communication also builds attraction on a subconscious level. It's less about what's being said and more about what's being felt. Safety, familiarity, bonding. That's what makes him excited to pick up his phone when your name pops up. Not just to see a text, but to feel like he's stepping back into a dynamic that's fun, meaningful, and unique to you two. There's a little secret that confident magnetic women understand intuitively, especially when it comes to texting. They know that attraction doesn't just live in what you say, it lives in what you don't. One of the sexiest, most powerful things you can do over text is to leave him wanting more, not in a manipulative, game-playing way, but in a way that respects your own energy, keeps a little mystery alive, and builds a natural sense of curiosity and desire. Think about it. When you binge watch a great series on Netflix, what keeps you hitting next episode? The cliffhangers, the unanswered questions, the feeling that something more is coming, but you'll have to wait to see what it is. That's exactly the feeling you want to leave in his mind when he talks to you, especially in those early stages when tension and mystery are part of the magic. So how do you actually do this? It's simple. Don't overstay your welcome in a text conversation. If it's flowing and fun, enjoy it, but know when to end it on a high. Instead of dragging it out until the energy fades, be the one to gracefully step away. "This has been fun, but I've got to run. Talk later." Leaves him smiling and wondering what you're up to. It subtly reinforces that you have your own life, your own rhythm, and that texting him isn't your whole world. And believe me, that's attractive. The truth is, when you're too available over text, it can start to dull the spark. Not because men don't like attention, but because they love the chase of discovery. They want to feel like they're getting to know you piece by piece, not all at once. They want to crave the next message, not feel like it's always right there when they're bored. Now, this doesn't mean playing cold or hard to get. It means showing you value yourself and your time. It means showing restraint, not because you're uninterested, but because you understand how desire works. It breathes in space. in curiosity, in wondering what you're thinking, what you're doing, when they'll hear from you next. And here's something else. When you're the one who ends the conversation with warmth and confidence, you give him room to step up. You allow him the space to miss you, to reach back out, to wonder what you're doing and want to reconnect. That's where real tension lives, in the pause, not just the exchange. Remember, you're not trying to win him over in a single night of texting. You're laying bricks, brick by brick, to build desire, trust, and connection. Leaving him wanting more doesn't mean being distant. It means being intentional. It means understanding that the most memorable connections are the ones where there's room to lean in, not ones that are smothered with attention. So when in doubt, end the conversation on a high. Leave him smiling, leave him thinking, and let that space do some of the work for you. So here's what I want you to take away from this. Texting isn't just a way to stay in touch. It's a playground. It's your space to show your confidence, your energy, your sense of humor, your heart. And when you know how to use it the right way, it becomes a tool to not just capture a guy's attention, but to keep it in a way that feels genuine, exciting, and deeply connected. When you start with curiosity, sprinkle in emotionally charged language, create your own little universe of inside jokes, and know exactly when to pull back and leave him wanting more, you're not just sending text, you're sending impressions. You're crafting moments that stick. And those are the kind of moments that build real attraction, not just surface level fun. But remember this, you don't need to become someone else to make someone like you. The goal isn't to perform, it's to express, to show who you are in the most vibrant, engaging way possible. That's what makes you unforgettable. That's what makes him check his phone with that little rush in his stomach every time your name pops up. So here's your challenge. The next time you text him, don't think, what should I say to make him like me? Instead, ask yourself, what can I share that lets him feel something real? Be playful, be smart, be bold. And then know when to put the phone down and let the silence work its magic. And hey, if you found this helpful, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and drop a comment below telling me the flirtiest message you've ever sent or received. I'd love to hear it. And don't forget to turn on your notifications, because I've got more coming your way that will absolutely transform the way you connect and communicate in dating. You've got this, and trust me, he won't just like you, he'll crave talking to you.